Everyone knows about the Battle of the Bulge. My Ranger Battalion was in General Patton's 3rd Army, and we did not in those days have all the wonderful things that they have now. Cloud cover doesn't mean anything as far as locating where you are and so on and so forth. But we were the eyes and ears to Patton. He wanted to know where he was going. So every time he wanted to know what was out there, he said, you know, go, go. And don't tell me that you're holding your position or you're going to retreat. That's not, those words I don't understand. So we had a lot of experience behind the lines and so on and so forth. Now, Patton's 3rd Army, which my battalion was a very small part, although an integral part, was 325,000 soldiers headed due east. On the 19th of December, General Eisenhower made a decision that General Patton would be in charge of everything south of the Bulge. And he then had the logistics nightmare of taking a 325,000 army going east to make it going north. The weather was terrible. All the vehicles all had their headlights on, and so on. So we got that under here. Okay. The next one. That's the way I went into the Battle of the Bulge. Riding a German tank. Excuse me, riding an American tank.
Is this flag?
First, someone said that can't be a very pleasant ride. I said, y'all try walking.
Yeah.
So, when we ran into the first German machine gun position, we all bailed off. And when I landed in the snow and put my rifle up to start shooting, my rifle stuck to my cheek. I couldn't get it off. And my Ranger buddy beside me says, look, you keep firing and I'll blow on it. And that's exactly what he did. He blew on it, but suddenly my rifle came off. So anyway, that was my experience of the first season of Battle of the Bulge. Okay. Now, Fort Indian Town Gap, Pennsylvania, Harrisburg area. I know it well because I was in the Pennsylvania National Guard when the Korean War started. We were in camp there, and we got federalized. So now I'm back in the Army as a first lieutenant. But anyway, what I did not know, what I didn't know was that I knew we had reenactors in this country, a lot of them, but I'd seen them before. They'd come to Ranger conventions and so on, but I did not know we had German reenactors. German reenactors, very fully equipped, no German tanks, but all kinds of German weaponry, including motorcycles and dogs and so on and so forth. It was an experience of a lifetime. Now this was the Battle of the Bulge reenactment. It wasn't much like the Battle of the Bulge, but nonetheless it was an experience to be there. Okay, okay.
Wow.
General Patton. There's George C. Scott as General Patton. I might add that I got to know George Patton Jr. very well after in Washington after war. And what he said is that the General Patton had signed a piece of paper was saying they could never make a movie after celebrating his life or describing his life and so on and so forth. But the family allowed that to happen. And of course, the Patton movie was a wonderful movie. Okay. That was exactly the type of words he had. By the way, Coach, we've been at this now for 45 minutes. Will we keep going, or?
Yeah, keep rolling.
Okay. All right. I don't know I don't know the rules. All right. Okay. Next one. This is an absolute quotation So read it. That last sentence, think in terms. The last war we really won was World War II. All of the conflicts that you all have experienced all your life, it ended some way or another, but not as winners. So it's very interesting that he had that concept. Okay.
That's where they killed him. Doesn't apply anymore.
Now, my corps commander, remember the Third Army was made up of 4 corps. I was in the 20th Corps, which was commanded then by Major General Walton Walker. I never saw him during the war, but after he was promoted to Lieutenant General, and then he came to Washington, where I got to know him, and then when the Korean War started, he was promoted to 4 stars and sent to Korea, where he was killed on Christmas Day. But all of the things that I thought that I heard as rumors were happening and so on and so forth, he either verified them or said I was incorrect. So I had a very excellent source of all my stories about World War II. Oh, that was him. Okay. Thank you. After Arlon, Belgium, we went into Germany. The Germans had big faith in Siegfried lines, tank obstacles and so on and so forth. They did very little to stop us. Very, very, very little.
Shouldn't have put that road there.
Many of their pillboxes and so on were unmanned and so on and so forth. But it did very, very little to stop our tanks. Okay, next one. Now, I've already told you that December the 19th was when the Battle of Bulge started. Now we're coming up on Christmas. The weather is terrible. Just absolutely terrible. Horrendous. Cold, wet, everything you don't like about being outside. So General Patton called in the chief chaplain. He said, you've got power from above. I want the weather changed. Chaplain said, well, would you mind telling me a little bit more about what you have in mind? He said, I want better weather so I can kill more Germans. Chaplain said, well, that's not really in my job description. Patton said to him, and this is a quote from General Walker, I don't want a goddamn lesson in theology. I want the weather changed. Guess what? The weather changed. And Patton gave him a decoration for that. Okay, but on Christmas Day, I was on a mission, but somehow or another I got a postcard, and this was on one side of it. Christmas greetings from General Patton. Would you stand up and read that, please?
Sure. Christmas greetings from General Patton. To each officer and soldier in the 3rd United States Army, I wish you a Merry Christmas. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We march in our might to complete victory. May God's blessings rest upon each of you on the Christmas day.
So I thought, that's very nice. So I turned it over. Here's what Chaplain O'Neill said. Try me again?
Sure. Almighty Father, we humbly beseech thee of thy great goodness to restrain these immoderate rains with which we have had to contend. Grant us fair weather for battle. Graciously hearken to us as soldiers who call upon thee, that armed with thy power we may advance from victory to victory and crush the oppression and wickedness of our enemies and establish thy justice among men and nations. Amen.
He could do this
like the first.
and still say to keep his faith.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. The Battle of Bulge is over. The 3rd Army is back on the Sar River where it was before the Battle of Bulge started. And Patton holds a commander's a Corps Commanders Conference. Remember, I'm getting this from General Walker. So Patton says to Walker, I want the 20th Corps to get across the Saar River and block the major roads back there where the Germans would send up reinforcements. Walker said, look, I can get a pontoon bridge across the river. And I can even get maybe some troops over there. But Hockenroth Mountain is over there, and nobody can climb Hockenroth Mountain. Nobody. Patton said, what if this Ranger Battalion do it? So that's how we got the assignment. We were, in our briefing, was the fact that we were going to be there for 2 days, behind the German lines for 2 days. Then we were going to be rescued. The result was everyone took 2 days of ammunition, 2 days of food, not realizing that we were going to be left there for 9 days. Okay, next one.
1 week and 2 days.
That's where the Battle of Bulge ended. That's where we ended. And here's where the Earth Surf campaign starts, right here. Okay, next one. February the 23rd to March the 5th, we were behind German lines. Here's where we went across the river. Here was where we went, and then up here we put it. This was the main road. Now, something very interesting happened to me right here. My Ranger Battalion was in companies, A through F, and the total of the battalion was 500, which meant that the company had like 80 or 85 in it. That meant a platoon had maybe 18 to 20 or 25 in it. We were marching down toward the Saar River, and 2 artillery shells landed right in my platoon. Right in my platoon. For reasons totally unknown, I was hit the deck, but I was knocked out. The 8 people around me were killed. The 10 or 12 people around them were all seriously wounded. When I awakened, they had me by my head and my feet, and they were ready to throw me on a pile of dead. And I said, you know, wait a minute, I'm okay. And they said, well, you got to go to the hospital. I said, no. I knew the message here is that even though the Rangers were long gone, I knew where they were going, so it was very easy for me to catch up with them. When they got there, everyone said, where in the hell you been? They weren't interested in what's going on. Okay, that's cool. Remember I told you this is what we did? Okay, next one. That X is where I got it. Okay? Now, I could tell you that, go back one more, if you would please. Note the difference between the intelligence report of December 1944. The difference being the fact they told us there were 2 divisions back there. Okay, now look at the next one. Now there's 4 divisions back there. Life's gotten a lot more complicated. Okay, next one.
Inflation.
That's the way we got across the river. That's an actual photograph. Army, I got out of Army. The last thing a guy said to me is, son, don't fall in because no one will help you. Now, even though the temperature was in the 20s, for reasons I don't know, the bridge was not slippery and there was a rope on each side. So the whole battalion that was still living we all got across the river. Now, remember I told you that that General Walker was going to put a few troops across to have some sort of a line? We never saw them, so I don't know where they were. But in any event, we went to Hockenroth Mountain, which was the challenge. If you went up on your hands and knees. Don't go. Okay, next one. Rangers to Company A. Okay, next one. Now, Hawker Mountain. What I wanted to tell you was that the challenge was that no one's compass worked. When you're in the dark night and so on and so forth without a compass, you're in a hell of a shape. This is a picture of today. See that? That's all copper. The reason our compass didn't work was because we were sitting on top of a copper mine. Compass was useless. Okay. But we did know we were on a 10-degree azimuth. So what do? The answer is you call back the field artillery and say fire at a long range a couple of shells at 10 degrees out so we knew which way we're going. And that's how we actually got around. Okay. When we got to the top of the mountain, as I said, it was maybe 12 or 15 degrees, but everyone was soaking wet because, as I said, we climbed up and so on and so forth. When we came out of the hill, or the forest on the side of the mountain, the first thing we saw was this pillbox on the left-hand side. Somehow or another, myself and a couple people of my platoon got the mission of going over and seeing what was going on. We were very surprised. It looked like it was empty. We got up, the back door was open. We walked inside, and here were 10 or 12 Germans having breakfast, having a hell of a time. They thought we were Germans in American uniforms. So we very quickly changed that mind. We fired some shots and captured them, so on and so forth. But unfortunately, not before they got the word out, and so on and so forth. I never quite understood how that, but suddenly the element of surprise is all gone. Okay, all right, thank you. Now, remember I told you that we had food for 2 days? It's now day number 4. So we're in deep trouble as far as hunger is concerned and so on. But on the right-hand side was this farm. This farm. Now, of interest about this is that not only did General Walker thoroughly brief me about what happened during the war, but I also have a transcript of a German who wrote it from a German side and put it in English. So we walked over there and we couldn't find anybody or anything, and we thought the whole thing was empty. So we decided that we'll put out a guard and so on and so forth, but we'll stay inside. And we heard a baby cry. And in the kitchen, pulled up the rug, and here's a big trap door. We opened up the trap door. The cellar, as they call it, was just filled with people. Just filled with people. And we had one of my guys could speak fluent German, and he said, "Look, we're not here to hurt you. Just stay where you are and stay out of it, and everything will just be fine." So they wanted to show their thanks. Remember how hungry we were. They gave us black bread. And the first loaves of black bread we threw away. We thought, these poor devils are eating rotten bread. Someone said, "Taste it." We saw the first pumpernickel bread we'd ever seen. In isolation in America, Mom made bread and she made biscuits and rolls. They were all white. No one had seen any dark bread at all. Then someone said, "Hey, there's a rumor that Germans smoke their hams in the chimneys." Well, that's a good rumor. Let's look. We would look at the chimney and here are 3 hams. So suddenly we have ham on pumpernickel bread, and we're not hungry anymore. So, anyway, okay. Now I might add that, as I said, I have this story from the German side of somebody who was in that cellar, and it's the same story. They knew we were coming. They tried to hide. They were not at all comfortable and we were going to kill them and so on and so forth. They were delighted to give us bread. They didn't squeal on the ham where the hams were. Someone else had to do that. But anyway, it turned out to be very nice. Okay. This is the road which was the main supply route that the Germans would use when the rest of the 20th Corps got across the Saar River. And here was the defensive parameter. I'm in Company A. Now it looks like we're at the rear, but the truth is that there were Germans all over the place. All over the place. And those pillboxes right here, the ones that are left, we just bypassed them on the way, and so on and so forth. So there's a story about that later. Okay, next one. When we got to the Earth-Surf Road, there were a few of us that had mines, which you put on a road. Normally you dig them in and so on and so forth, as a defense. But when we got there, we couldn't do anything, they just put them right in the road. Within the first hour, this German staff car comes up, and the driver, of course, sees the mines, and so he stops. And we quickly take prisoner an officer and 3 soldiers. We found out, much to our surprise, that the officer was a doctor, and the 3 guys were corpsmen. We had searched high and low to find a doctor to go with us on this mission. We couldn't get any volunteers. Suddenly we have a doctor, but he's a German. So he had been educated at Harvard, it turns out. He speaks perfect English. Absolutely amazing. And we said, you got a decision to make. You know, you're a prisoner, but you're also a doctor.
Take a note.
You want to be a German officer or a doctor first? And so we talked over with this corpsman. Suddenly we had a doctor and 3 corpsmen. So we actually had a hospital all set up. They treated Germans and Americans just alike. So we're in very, very good shape. Okay, next one. 284 Field Artillery Battalion. Every day that we were in that defense, which I showed you a while ago, every day we got attacked by a number of Germans. Every day. On the 26th of February, some 250, 300 Germans attacked us, and they overran my company. We had a 284th Field Artillery officer with us, and we told him to tell the 284th to fire in our position. Remember, we're dug in. The Germans were above us. They argued the point, and they finally decided to do it. There were a lot of tree bursts. I was in my foxhole with a hole in my helmet like so, and they sent over maybe 12 or 15 rounds. The Germans were just slaughtered. It actually saved our life. Now, of interest is the fact that, talk about a small world, my wife was a lawyer working for the National Labor Relations Board, and they got talking about World War II one day, and one of her fellow lawyers says, my father was in World War II. He was in a battalion, a 105 millimeter battalion. What number was it? I don't know. And we came back, it turns out that one of my wife's colleagues' father had been in the 284th. So he told us about the fact that they did not want to fire on us, but they did anyway. Okay, so that's